Let's get right into it, because I think we're all chomping at the bit to get into the meat of the matter, which is obviously the charts.
Don't be afraid to say it.
Here we are. Here we are.
Cameras is rolling, but put it out.
We've been alluding to it. So, I mean, obviously the Billboard charts are something you're altogether versed with, and there's a certain pigmentation missing from the top of the charts. Meanwhile, R&B is still represented in a way.
Yeah, I wrote an article, I think a lot of people may have read it, back in March, where last year was the first year that there were no solo black artists with a song that reached the top of the Billboard Hot 100. And tied to that was a satirical letter from another person who wrote that said, we don't need black artists anymore because we've got this down. There's Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, we've got Robin Thicke, we've studied but thankfully there's been Pharrell this year. Okay, there's been John Legend, which is, I think, a great Cinderella story. He had said all along that if you listen to All of Me, and he told the label, if you push it, they will come. And they did. This man, his first number one, I think a lot of people thought Ordinary People was number one. I think it only got to number 24. And here it is, and he was right. So it's about working it, and R&B isn't fast like hip hop. It's not fast like pop. It's not of the moment. You gotta spend some time with it, and people spend time. And that's a universal song. And again, when you talked about no labels, that song fits everything. It really does.
I think, I have, I'm glad we're doing this. This is beautiful. Hi, Gail. I love you.
Tyrese. Because you were in my office earlier this year.
I was definitely there. I like that place. A lot of boxes still packing up in that place. Conversations that I've had with LaShawn, because we work together, and people that are kind of in my circle, I also feel like a lot of albums are sounding like mixtapes, right? Because they're working with 20, 30 people. I think the state of R&B is insecure, just as a whole, in my opinion. And the reason I say that is because the labels and the radio spins reflect that unless you have a rapper in the beginning, the middle, and the end of your R&B song, it ain't gonna really get as much attention as you want it to get. And then you got the John Legend type records that are very beautiful, and it's got all of the singing and everything, and it cuts right through the noise and shoots to number one and doesn't have rappers in the beginning and the end. And so, in my opinion, when you mention Marvin Gaye and Teddy Pendergrass and all of the greats, it was never Teddy Pendergrass featuring Kurtis Blow. So, when you coming out with R&B albums, I think the state of R&B is insecure because it's about the gimmicks. It's about name dropping on who's featured. It's about name dropping on who produced it. Like, I don't care who produced it. It's nice that you have such and such who produce it, but is it a hit or is it a song that's produced by? So you want me to love it because Timbaland did it. I actually don't like it. Oh, that's offensive. Why is it offensive? Because Timbaland did it. What if I don't like the song? So I think right now, when I say the state of R&B is insecure, to me, it's like, and I'm not dropping no nothing, I'm just speaking my truth. While everybody was calling about the Open Invitation album, that was my independent, you look at the album credits and you literally didn't recognize anybody. You didn't know who any of the producers and writers were. Most of the people that I really wanted to work with were too expensive and just was too busy. They was going from Usher to Trey to this and that, and I'm wondering how much time and energy are you really trying to tap into the, do you have any Tyrese in the bloodstream? Can you give me a specific song that you're writing for me? Or am I a part of the assembly line because you're a big time producer, songwriter, and everybody's coming through these doors? So to create that, I guess, factory of like a music, you create a world and there's a marriage there where one song is spiritually connected to the next, to the next, to the next, and then to end up with a Grammy nomination for the album, it was a reflection of the sacrifice of saying you can't name drop. You can't say you got 15 features on it. It's just an R&B album, singing from my heart. You don't know who anybody is, but we worked our asses off and we put something together. So instead of it going to the ego that we got a nomination, it became a reflection of when you're doing something great, it doesn't matter who's a part of it. If you're singing and doing music from your heart, it's gonna cut through the noise. You end up with a nomination, whether you win or not. A lot of albums came out, and this album didn't have to be recognized. And we literally did it in my closet at home. And so, to me,
You got
that's
a big
an
closet.
opinion.
It's like a master closet.
It's a great album. I voted for you. Great album.
Bless you. I love you.
did.
So I think that's important, you know what I mean, to put that out there. Like, you know, for me, I want to hear Ledisi.
Absolutely.
I want to hear her, even if she's just singing on top of the thump of a guitar. I don't care who's thumping on the guitar. I just want to experience your story, your message, and what you got to say, and contribute to the state of R&B.
And I would love to hear from you about when you hear a guy like Sam Smith on the radio.
I think my version of the state of R&B, what's missing is good songwriting, okay? And a mixture of old and new together. There's an imbalance going on. It's too much modern that a good song is what always comes through. It's not about just the push. It's not just about, right? I said it goes together, meaning the support of a label and marketing, all that helps. A good image, all that helps. But a good song, at the end of the day, that is what matters. A good voice and a good song to carry that song. I've heard so many albums. By track 3, I'm bored. I go to the concert, I'm like, okay, I love her voice, but this song is horrible. You know, I mean, I have to be honest. So that drives me crazy. But when you hear artists that you are upset about, that does not look like you, that does not come from where you are, sorry, their song.
Yeah.
And that voice going with that song is nailing that radio, is right front and center. Go back to what the truth is, there are no great songs. Sorry. It's either we recycle. I feel like R&B just needs a balance of old school and new school together. And then we can grab a bigger community. That's what made R&B what it was, is that it had this feeling and a great voice. The songs, all the great producers back in the day, they sat in their room, they played instruments. So let's go back to education. We can even go further. Go back to the schools. Once we got rid of all those music programs for our kids to learn how to use an instrument and really feel and tell their story. All they have is the drum machine.
Logic.
So they're gonna use that. Don't get mad. And they're using it and making money off of it. And it might not be a great song in my opinion, but it's great to their generation. This is their time. We keep trying to bring them backwards, but we gotta find a middle ground where we can meet them at the same time.
I love your
That's
point
why
about...
I mix my albums up, old and new.
Yeah.
I'm gonna shake it when I feel like it. That's me. I'm gonna keep progressing because I have to reach more than old school R&B. I gotta get the kids so they can know where I come from.
Yeah.
When they hear me do a Luther run, that's Luther Vandross, you don't know nothing about that. You know what I mean? I do that every show and I grab them. Now I have the best, greatest gift I've ever had this last tour, 30-city tour, was having generations at my show. This 60-year-old woman came up to me with her daughter and her daughter's daughter.
Wow.
Blew me away. Another show, I made my daughter come, father. She said, she's 22. I love that. So they all can come and enjoy my show together. That gives me joy. And that's what's missing in R&B, balance. It's imbalanced.
Right.